Okay guys, so welcome back, and a long-awaited review tonight. It's been a while since we've talked about having the KBS shafts in here, and they're finally here.
And a ton of people will be happy to see it because the comments for the full year and a half that we've been doing this, not many weeks go by that I don't see at least one saying,
something about
can you guys kind of get going on KBS? So we're happy to say we're doing it.
I think KBS is so sort of widely acknowledged because it comes as standard in so many products nowadays. You see the red label in so many sort of OEM products.
True.
That I guess people are always curious about, you know, how they compare to what we have on the wall, from the O-band, the Shimada, the Project X, the Dynamic Gold. And you know, there's a big demand for KBS products out there, hence it's made its way onto the wall.
Absolutely. So it's new to TXG basically as of this month.
Yeah.
What would you say would be kind of your main reasons why you felt it really kind of needed to get on the wall for your customers?
I think there's always a need for variety, and when we see little holes in our matrix, anytime we go to the shaft wall to pick a solution, as I call it, you know, we see the problems, we find a solution, and sometimes I kind of almost felt like there was little holes. You know, for example, like a C-taper, right? It's about as strong a shaft as there is out there. There's a reason that's the shaft Gary Woodland plays.
Gotcha.
It's the shaft, you know, Rosie's played for the longest time, and Justin Rose historically has played the 125, the S Plus.
Oh, okay.
So he hasn't even, you know, traditionally played the X-Flex. It's that stiff. So it is for the aggressive swinger, and I think by nature of up here in Canada, we get a lot of hockey players, lots of really aggressive, golf swings to deal with, and lots of aggressive transitions. It's one that really fits the matrix very well, and I'm really pleased that we do have it on there now. And
on the other end of the spectrum, they do have lighter weight stuff.
Yeah.
Do you find there's gaps in there that kind of the rest of the range is filling?
Definitely. So, you know, again, like what I was saying earlier on, we have C-taper light, we have money taper and money taper light. I mean, C-taper light is such a great alternative to maybe something like a Modus 105.
Right.
So as the weight progressions go, and that's typically how shafts get stiffer. They get stiffer, they get heavier, they get stiffer due to added material in certain places, and that's how they stiffen up the profile. They don't change the profile crazy amounts.
Okay.
They'll just add some more material in there, so it just changes the deflection pattern.
So people will be picturing kind of the sort of the wall diameter of the shaft will be kind of increased in certain spots, and that's what adds weight to it?
Definitely.
Interesting, okay.
Definitely. So something like a C-taper light, 105 gram in the regular, 110 gram in stiff, 115 gram in the X, that kind of follows the same progression as something like a Modus 105. So if you've got that player that has sort of reasonable speed, you don't want to burden their swing with too much kind of weight, that's a nice place to gravitate towards. So we've got sort of options on both ends.
Really cool.
So keen to see you hit these. I've been really interested to see you hit both of these actually. So, you know, obviously KBS C-taper has really been, it was my go-to for the longest time.
Is that right?
I always called it just a dispersion killer.
Really?
So just for people who would kind of spray it a little bit, a bit of speed, I always just found it just shrunk the dispersion right down.
Interesting.
Really stabilized that flight.
Well, I've never tested anything with KBS before.
Oh really? Not once?
Wedges?
Okay.
Stock, like when we've messed around with some wedges here and there. I know the high toe has it.
Yeah, the
but
115.
No, I've never tested an iron set, so this will be good.
Definitely.
All right, cool. So what are we starting with?
Let's start with the money taper 130. Sounded good.
Oh, pretty nice.
Really nice. So kind of as you go along, and this is, I love that you've never hit any of these before, so this is going to be so fresh for you, and all these kind of new feels and that sort of thing. So kind of just throw out what you feel.
Okay.
In terms of the balance of the shaft, how it kind of loads, and how you feel throughout the swing.
Gotcha. I hit a few with mine to warm up, so I should be able to determine the difference, hopefully. Good swing.
Really good swing.
So I'll give you my 2 swing analysis so far.
Okay.
I feel kind of like back to Project X-ish feel a little bit. So I kind of feel like a little kind of movement maybe higher up on the shaft.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe not butt section, but maybe a little more mid kind of kick, and then a little stiffer in the tip, I think. It's kind of what I'm feeling.
It's just going to be very interesting as we see these numbers evolve, and there's going to be certain things here that are very, very interesting to watch. How does the speed go? I mean, that's quicker than you normally are.
Yeah, that's moving.
You know, there's a couple of things, you know, with the swing as you're chipping away, these kind of swing changes. I think the path being a little bit more into out tonight is causing a reaction of increased speed to try and get the head to correct as the path goes more left.
Yep.
So
definitely.
Let's see how that goes.
It's a little thin.
Striking these really nice.
Yeah, it was a little thin, but not bad.
Pretty good. Pretty good indeed. Okay.
So what, how close was I in terms of saying it's kind of like Project X? Is it at all like Project X?
So what the idea was to try to bridge the gap between original KBS Tour, which was a little bit more tip active. There's been several editions of KBS Tour that have came out to be stiffer. So there's one Tour V that was basically built for Phil Mickelson. So that was Mickelson originally played KBS Tour when Kim sort of first brought the shaft out, because Mickelson was a big fan of the Project X satin shafts.
I remember that, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
that was a bit of a kind of, you know, a cult product, you know, cult following for that particular product. And then when True Temper bought Project X, which was originally, you know, Kim Braley's line, he could have often done his own thing, and actually True Temper changed the mix a little bit, so it wasn't quite the original shaft. So that there's a bit of kind of history in that one, but players who had a stronger and faster tempo always found the KBS Tour a little bit too soft, and it kind of ballooned a little bit. So then C-Taper was the answer to that. Then Tour V came along, and then Money Tapers came in, trying to bridge that gap. So the feel of KBS Tour, which players always loved, felt great. A little bit higher balance point, felt really, really nice, but it didn't quite have the same stability C-Taper had. Money Tapers right between those two.
Okay, gotcha. So it should have a bit smoother of a...
Smooth but stable. It's probably the best way to think about it. So, you know, maybe if your tempo isn't that aggressive to the point where C-Taper, and to some people, C-Taper just feels like a post.
Yeah, because just waggling that the first couple swings, that is so much stiffer.
Different animal altogether, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
So Money Taper is kind of for that player.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
But it's quite a different product from C-Taper as well. I mean, although it's trying to bridge the gap, it's probably more of a relative of KBS Tour than it is of C-Taper.
Gotcha.
In terms of feel and feedback and that sort of thing.
Right.
Remember last week we talked about the change of pitch?
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Yeah.
Really different.
It's the first time I've ever really heard what you were talking about with that. It sounded completely different. I mean, it feels stiff as hell, but when I make a swing, I don't feel like I'm doing anything differently. I don't think.
Here's the real kicker to this whole thing. And it's probably a segue that I don't want to sort of spoil too soon.
Okay.
you kind of look at the real stiff one and go, okay, why the heck is it spinning significantly more than the softer one?
Yeah.
It just does.
Delivery.
It's just the way the player loads it.
So my feedback, I'm interested to see that looks like that. That first shaft, like I'm struggling right now with getting a little kind of too far behind me, kind of sweepy, shallow.
Yeah.
I almost felt like the first shaft made that worse for me.
Okay.
And this is sort of neutralizing it for me a little bit.
Yeah. You couldn't have hit the first two audibly. They sounded great. The ball speed spiked a little bit. Spin rate popped up a little bit. I mean, it was much more like what I would expect to see from your flight, but
interesting.
You know, it was just what I really kind of noticed significantly from the first couple. Let's set a few more.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Okay, that's a pretty comparable amount. But it stays really consistent that you launch this one a little more, but you spin it a decent amount higher. What do you think of the shaft in terms of even just selfishly something that you could consider to play? Like, could you throw this in the mix as a contender for you?
Yeah, like if we were going to do a fit for my iron soon, I'd ask you to include this one. I'm sure you would anyway based on this, but
well,
it feels really heavy and really stiff when I'm kind of just standing here. But I guess in motion, I'm liking it in that sense. But I can see a lot of people picking it up and going, "Oh my God!" Like I don't know how I could swing with that. But
yeah, feels like hard work.
But you got to be open-minded, I guess, in the results because it's been the better of the two.
Yeah, quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when we sort of test this second time around, we actually see a slightly bigger dispersion or disparity between the backspin numbers. It actually widened slightly.
Yeah, if anything, you further confirmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, balance point wise, money taper wouldn't be something that you should pursue.
We said that quickly kind of off camera, but this is a high balance point shaft.
Higher balance point, slightly different load profile.
So I might have just lost the head a little bit in motion or something.
Yeah, you weren't able to find it at the bottom of the swing when it came down to impact. Your tendency was to bottom out far too soon with that one. Whereas C taper, whether it be the weight, something that you were a little bit more aware of, and
something there. But this is
matched you.
This is why you go through the process.
Yeah.
Even 2 iron shafts. I mean, if you were limited to one brand, this is night and day basically.
Night and day.
And could be day and night for someone else if they've 100%. Got a different swing.
Definitely. Okay, so more to be done. I think there's more offshoots of this. So what is C taper like compared to Project X?
Yeah.
X100.
Yep.
You know, those other low spin shafts, because in actual fact we've found that you spun this more than others. And
love that.
And how many times have we done this though? When we've kind of taken a kind of designated flight pattern and kind of shown that didn't do that for you.
The funny thing is, and we got a couple comments from the Ventus video. Right. It's one of the only times where we've kind of seen the more linear progression through a shaft range, and that in practice doesn't happen that often.
No.
So if anything from the channel, people should see, okay, that's more the exception than the rule. Like the literature doesn't, it will match up sometimes. It's not like it never will match up. But more often than not, you'll get this where, it's sort of what it was intended to do, but until you have it in your hands and just see what happens, that's the real test.
But again, I don't want too many people watching this to go, oh, better go and try, money taper as a low spin shaft. I just don't think that's a fruitful way to go about it.
True.
I just think the message here is that go get fit, go kind of try a bunch of different products with somebody who really is able to select the right stuff for you.
Yeah.
knowing what heads and shafts and the ball and all that sort of stuff is doing is really going to kind of lead you to the right combination down the line.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, so it's good.
Interesting.
I mean, we more or less just kind of filmed our first, me and you, our first kind of experience with it.
Yeah.
So we got a lot more we're going to do with it compared to other stuff,
Tons.
that's kind of day one with KBS.
That's it. Lots more to come.
All right, more stuff for the wall.
Lots more to come. Yep, absolutely. We'll be diving into the C-taper light and the money taper light lines as well.
Yes.
We decided not to do that with Matt. Just not probably a fair test because you're a little bit too quick. You're not the target market for those particular products. So we will have more testing coming with people who are around the appropriate swing speed for that.
Cool.
Excellent. Okay, stay tuned and we'll see you again soon.